Six Nations Round 1 Top 5 Players of the Week, folks, with the first round of action in the bag. Some pretty crazy results. We'll go through my picks for the top 5 players, and you guys can let us know your thoughts. I haven't always agreed with the man of the match. Man of the match is a tough call to make. They've kind of got to do it on the spot. I've had the benefit of looking at some stats, of rewatching a little bit of footage and whatnot. Not that I'm right, but here's my 5 picks. You guys let us know your thoughts. I should say this episode, thanks to eToro, is brought to you by eToro, the official investing and trading partner of Premiership Rugby. Tackle investing the smart way and join millions of UK investors on eToro today, the friendly platform for serious investors. eToro is a multi-asset investment platform. The value of your investment may go up or down. Your capital is at risk. But yeah, cheers eToro for coming along. Number 1 pick, I'm going to go with a Welshman. One of the losing players, but not the man of the match. Man of the match, they went with Wainwright, which is a fair pick. I mean, he's got some amazing numbers as well. I've gone with Tommy Reffel. Open side flanker, no Jack Morgan for this one, so a bit of extra pressure on that Welsh back row, but he absolutely put his hand up. And I think without his shift, at the very least, Scotland probably get that bonus point, and potentially Wales don't get as close as they do. I mean, defensive shift, 11 from 11 tackles and 3 turnovers won. So you love it when you see a guy break the double-digit count for his tackles. You love it when they stick to 100%, and especially, I mean, you've seen a number of great Welsh number 7s over the years do it, but just that threat at the breakdown, 3 turnovers won, is this week's top guy for breakdown threat. So nobody beats Tommy Reffel at the breakdown this week. Absolutely the top man. One of the busiest guys with ruck numbers as well. 2 defenders beaten. Has a clean break. Makes 9 carries for 20 metres as well. Makes a late tackle on George Horn, I think, having a snipe, trying to get that bonus point. It's Reffel that kind of brings him down when it looks like that was where the space was. Tommy Reffel. Big shift from the Welsh number 7. Not quite enough for the result. Unsurprisingly, I'm going to pick an Irishman. McCarthy gets man of the match, and you can't blame the people for picking him. Monstrous carries. But I've gone with his locking partner, Tadhg. I mean, you could pick numerous guys in that Irish team to be your player of the match, and I probably wouldn't have many arguments because there was some phenomenal shifts. And Tadhg is potentially gets a little bit of extra bias from me because he's just one of my favourite players. Again, he's a proper threat at the breakdown. He's a proper threat at line-out time. And he gets the icing on the cake with a try. He looked like a centre when he went through from that Jack Crowley pop ball into that kind of huge gap. Made it look very comfortable. He finishes with 12 runs for 32 metres and 2 clean breaks, including the one which leads to the try. And he also loves getting his hand on the ball. 9 passes for a lock is a lot. Like, I think McCarthy had 2. It's not to say one's better than the other, like different roles, but Burns got really great ball handling. Like, McCarthy just grabs the ball, he wants to crack on forward. They both had a lot of carries, but 9 passes is a lot for a guy in his position. 7 from 7 tackles, that's 100%. Also busy at ruck time. Ireland's top line-out man. He also has 2 line-out steals this week. Disruptive of that French line-out, so nobody else had more line-out steals this week than Tadhg. I think he was first equal. 3rd for clean-outs. So just very, very busy shift from Tadhg and a very, very busy shift from the Irish guys generally. So he's my pick. As I said, you could take your pick of many. Now, as part of our 5 players of the round, and thanks to our sponsor eToro, we're also going to build a perfect rugby player. Just like you can build a strong or ideal portfolio with eToro, we are going to combine different attributes, the likes of kicking, power, speed, defense, leadership, into something unstoppable on the rugby field. So today, we're going to look at defense. We're going to take that defensive attribute from one player and kind of build it into our perfect model. And happily, we are joined by current defense coach over there in France at Stade Francais Paris, Paul Gustard. Right, welcome along, Paul. I know you've been busy, mate, with your top 14 duties. How is your evening going?
It's all good, mate. It was my birthday. I'm the ripe old age of 48 a couple of days ago. So having a
Happy
glass of
birthday.
Vin Rouge as you do in France, and yeah, looking forward to talking a bit of rugby.
Yeah, man. We've got talking about defense is the kind of order of the day. That seems to be your bread and butter. Now, I mean, when we're thinking defense, there's a lot of cliches. Defense wins championships, but this is kind of your baby. So, what is it that makes a great defense? What are the attributes? I mean, it's more than just being a big lump of a man. Sure, there's mental, there's technical, lots of things going into it.
Yeah, look, I think I'll touch upon the last thing you said first. I think with rugby, with coaching, and with playing, there's probably 5 or 6 things that you can coach or that you can develop. So the easy one to think about really is technical in terms of skill of a tackle, skill of a fold, or policies around for tactical stuff around lineouts, around your system. Then you've got the physical capacity to do things, the actual ability to sprint, ability to run longer distances, your fitness base, your strength. Then you've got emotional, how much you can gear yourself up for a game. And then, of course, the mental capacity to perform consistently either side of the ball, but particularly in defence, because when we're young, when you first start playing rugby, the thing you always want to do is score a try, right? It's an evasion sport or invasion sport. And I think that probably the last thing people want to do is defend. They want to try and attack and carry the ball and score a try. So I think, taking all those kind of things around, what we kind of look for, what I kind of look for is that everyone in the world has a system. Some systems are slightly better than others, but more or less, everyone does the same kind of thing these days. Get to some kind of space, get off the line as fast as they can, be as effective and as dominant as they can, slow down the ball as much as they can. But it's actually the person. It's actually the person that's the most important. So for me, it's how much we can inspire them and get them to do what they want to do. But it's also what's inside them a little bit. So I kind of try and coach the person more than the system, if that makes sense. I think the system is quite straightforward. I don't try and overcomplicate it because I'm not too bright. So I think it's easier to keep it simple. But yeah, I try and look for people that have got that emotional desire, the mental capacity to have the fight and the grit and the resilience. And I think those kind of unseen traits really are effective for a good defender and a good rugby player as well.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of that goes with some of the best defenders in the world. It is that kind of unseen thing, right? They're not necessarily the guys who are going to always get player of the match. Sometimes they do. I mean, often I feel like number 10s get player of the match just because of the kind of the glitz and kind of glam of the role. But defending, yeah, I mean, you touched on it with it's the kind of thing people don't grow up dreaming of doing. My son, he played a few seasons of rugby, and I can confirm his least favorite thing to do is
well, yeah,
this
this is true. If he's a good-looking boy, then keep him away from tackling, right? But I'll give you a different example though. So someone that didn't dream of attacking was Jack Berger, a player had the delight of coaching, the Namibian flank and Namibian captain. He invented the face tackle. His face wears those marks that you can see, but ferocious in his defense. Tackled anyone, hit anyone hard, was 100 kilos wet through, but had it upstairs that he wanted to be physically dominant. Understood and could read what was going on in front of him, so he had the mental ability to do that consistently, time after time, and actually had the energy for it. He understood his place in a team. That for him to excel, for him to be potentially a man of the match, for him to be captain of Namibia, for him to play for Saracens for 10 years, he had to find something that was a competitive advantage to him, and that was his defense. So some guys are like that, and you'll see in the modern game now, there's still players that are probably picked as defenders rather than rugby players or attackers. And there's still a place for people that can't catch and pass so well.
Now, Jacques was obviously, like you mentioned, one of the legends, but we can't pick Jacques for this role that we've asked you to pick because he's not involved in the Six Nations. So prior to the games this weekend, we asked you to have a think and pick one guy to be kind of your perfect player in terms of defense. Obviously, nobody's perfect, but perfect sounds pretty cool. So of all the Six Nations squads, who did you decide to go with, and what was the kind of justification?
Look, it's a tough one, isn't it? When you throw that question out, it's a tough one. The three that I ended up thinking of hard was one guy that I coach, or two guys that I've coached. So I want to be loyal to the people that I've coached and know well. First was Ignacio Brex, that very Italian-sounding Argentinian for Italy. A very good defensive reader, tackles well, brings a lot of energy to the defensive line. Tommy Raffel that plays for Wales, I think is a great player, excellent over the ball, had a great weekend as well, as it turned out. But the guy I went for was Paul Gustard, who is our captain at Stade Francais. and play second row for France. And the reason is, for me, with defence, there's two aspects that you look at. There is the actual defending ability, so the ability to read what's happening, the ability to find space in the defensive line, the work ethic to go forward on kick chase, the work ethic to get back on a scramble, the ability to slow down a ball. And then there's the tackling element as well in terms of the tackle itself. So how effective you are in that zone, what's your tackle fight after tackle like, and so on. And I find that in rugby now, we expect big things from the centres, like I spoke about Ignacio or Nacho Brex. We expect from Tommy Rafael or Aaron Wainwright or whoever you want to choose. But actually, as a defence coach, you're actually looking for the tight five to make these big numbers in terms of tackles. The big men, they have the ability with stopping power to arrest momentum for the attack. And you're looking for these guys to make 15 tackles a game, because that's actually adds up for your defensive intensity, because the back row can only tackle every other tackle generally. The centres can only tackle every other tackle. You've got two guys in the backfield. You've got one pass taking away 2-3 defenders all the time. So you need people that are smart, that can work. And the reason I chose Paul is, one, as I said, I coach him and I think he's a fantastic player. And I'm delighted that he's back in the French squad. But he is actually in the top 4 and the top 14 for most dominant tackles. He's in the top 6 in terms of total number of tackles made, which reflects his work ethic. And that's bearing in mind that he's actually played 3 less games than the guys ahead of him. He's had in the top 4 in terms of line-out steal, so defensive line-out pressure, and his actual work rate, as I mentioned before, in terms of the kick chase and scramble back, is absolutely second to none. As I mentioned, I think in the last one, he's probably, him and Courtney Lord, the 2 best second rows I've ever coached, and I've coached some good ones, right? Mara Toji, George Cruz, Steve Borthwick, to name but 3. But those 2 are a real standout. And Paul, for me, brings everything that I look for in terms of work ethic, in terms of desire and application, bringing energy to the team through unseen action. So that's why I chose Paul.
He certainly had a cracking game at the weekend. Even got himself on the score sheet as well.
Yeah, he managed to burrow over. He managed to get those long arms over there just about. So, look, I'm really pleased. We mentioned last time I thought France might give Ireland 15 points or so, but Ireland were fantastic, right? And I think the one thing you look at is what an unbelievably low error rate they had. And as good a defender as Paul is, and as France generally are, they weren't able to slow down the ball. And in fact, Ireland's ruck speed, it was probably the best in the world at the moment anyway, but the amount of times Ireland were able to take defenders off their feet through their ruck cleaning was super impressive. And I think Ireland made maybe 4 errors across the game in its entirety, in terms of balls lost. They didn't lose a line-out ball, but balls lost knock on forward, turnover at the breakdown, tackled into touch. So it shows you how effective they were as a team, and they were able to keep building pressure on France that started making bad decisions. That they're generally a ball-watching team. They got caught watching a man, watching a ball, and then suddenly Dante gets cut on the inside, and it's 7 points too easy. So it was a super impressive game, but delight for Paul, but obviously for France and for all the French players that I'm at with at Stade Francais, they were a pretty unhappy bunch on Friday night.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, I'm sure you'll be looking forward to getting Paul back to the Stade Francais squad at some point soon, getting your captain back and your defensive kind of champion. And I'll let you get back to your wine. Happy birthday for the other day. And cheers, man, for coming along.
I appreciate that. Thanks a lot. Take care, pal.
All right, well, cheers to Paul for coming along. We're going to continue this perfect player series throughout the Six Nations, and we'll see what kind of player we've got come the end of things. But Paul Gabriage, pretty solid pick. He's a Stade Francais man, so yeah, had a good shift at the weekend in what was not France's best effort. So good effort for him to stand out. Next, I'm going with an Italian. Another losing effort, and I reckon he's just such an important guy to have back after missing out on the World Cup. And that is, in the midfield, Tommaso Menoncello. Unbelievable. Just the difference this guy makes. They just look to have that extra bit of kind of cutting edge in the midfield to the Italians, which is really pleasing. I know we're only 1 game in. They got a late consolation try. They still lost the game. They were at home. So I could be looking at them with a more kind of, critical eye. But he gets a try assist, which is a great bit of handling. He runs 80 meters For context, I think the next best midfielder was Hugh Jones with like 41 from the starting midfielders. So absolutely cutting on the attack. Like when England gave them that kind of wide space, kick into the flanks, Menincello was right in there. 11 runs, 80 metres, 2 clean breaks, 5 defenders beaten. So more defenders beaten than any other midfielder this week. And I think he's second overall, equal with a few guys. Like, I think Wainwright, maybe Jalibert. He's only behind Monty Ioane by 1. So, yeah, just really devastating on attack. 10 from 13 tackles. He's missed a couple there. But overall, man, unbelievable attacking prowess from Tommaso Menincello. Like I said, I think the Italians just missed him at the World Cup. He is just really a proper X-Factor player and still very young. Next, I am going to go with one of the players of the match. And it's not just because he's a Kiwi as well. Ethan Roots. He put in a heck of a shift on his debut for England. Unbelievable. Man of the match in your first game is not a bad way to introduce yourself. We said in the kind of preview to the game that he's very busy. And boy, was he busy, man. 9 runs for 36 metres. You know, very, very high work rate. Pretty decent metres per carry rate there. He beats a couple of defenders, which is good. It's what you want from your big ball carrying loose forwards. I mean, look at that 22 dropout that the Italians had when the ball held up in the in-goal area. You just give it to Roots just to carry straight back at them. 8 from 10 tackles. He would probably be hoping for more, to be honest, because in the Premiership he averages 10 plus, but still 80%. We'll probably see more from him, I reckon, in the coming rounds. He's their top line-out man. I think he took 6 line-out balls. So first in this England squad this week. Great ruck numbers. Wins a turnover. First game. Very, very impressive from Ethan Roots. Look forward to see what he could do in future games. And then lastly, I didn't deliberately pick one from each team apart from France, but it's just kind of worked out that way. I've picked a prop. And I've picked Pierre Schoeman. Because props don't get enough love, and he got a try. Not just because he tried a try. Pierre Schoeman's got some great numbers. I mean, you know I'm into my stats. Try from close range. He burrows over. That's what he does. Some guys have got a real knack for just how close they are to the line, how well they can reach out. He knows where the whitewash is very well, so he gets a try from close range. 5 runs for 9 metres is busy enough without being kind of a devastating ball carrier, but he's generally looking just to get low, get the ball over the advantage line and recycle so they can get it out to the other kind of more X-Factor players. But he's got 2 defenders beaten as well, which is, I think, second for props this week, behind only Cyril Bay. 14 from 14 tackles is only behind Fischetti in terms of props, and Fischetti missed a couple of tackles. Schoeman misses none. So one of your top tacklers in the team, one of the best tacklers in his position, scores a try, beats defenders, plays 62 minutes. What else do you want from a big prop? Good to get a bit of prop love. Can't just give all the glory to some of the more flashy positions. Like you could go with Finn Russell because he got a couple of try assists and helped set up some line breaks and whatnot. But it all starts up front. So, yeah. Looks like I've been a bit forward heavy. I've only gone with the one back, and that was an Italian. So, there you go. There's my top 5 picks of the round. As I said, just kind of my picks. I would happily change them to some other guys in various teams. But having had a wee look at the numbers and having had a look at some of the highlights again, those are my picks for the week. You guys let us know your thoughts. Who would you have if you were narrowing things down to just 5? Cheers to Paul for coming along and giving us his insights into the defensive game. And cheers to eToro for sponsoring the video and Planet Rugby as well. You guys let us know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.